What have you found to be the most motivating factors in your life so far?
Uh, I think what's been most motivating at this point in my life are those things that impact our family. Big picture things would be thinking about the world that my children and grandchildren will be living in, and um, and then just even daily, kind of wanting good things for our family, good memories, good experiences to take into adulthood, good lessons to bring into adulthood. That's kind of my focus in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways.
Okay. How do you think the opinions of others towards yourself affect the opinion of yourself?
You know what? I'm at the age where it really doesn't affect me that much. I mean, we all have our days where there are those instances where you think, what's going on. But um, by and large, I do my own thing. I do what matters to me. I do what seems to fit in my life.
Do you feel you work best when others believe in you or when you believe in yourself?
Definitely when I believe in myself first. But I'd be lying if I didn't say there are days that you're glad to hear other people believe in you too.
Mm-hmm. Is there any specific time you have been told you aren't capable of something particular?
The instance that comes to mind most quickly for me is I remember being in like 7th or 8th grade math, and they're doing stuff in my math class, and I remember literally thinking, I think I've told you the story. They've got it, but I'm gonna get it, and I just remember thinking that. So there was kind of a piece that, boy, other people are getting it, and it's taken me a little bit longer, but I had enough experiences to know I would, and that's worked well. What was the question more specifically again?
Is there any specific time you've been told that you aren't capable of something?
Oh, and I guess, I think some of what happens, I had kids and I was home, or I worked a part-time or flexible schedule for many years, so then getting back into the workforce took a little bit of, kind of proving myself for sure.
Yeah. Um, have you ever been put into a situation where stereotypical assumptions have affected you?
You mean like being a woman, or
Yeah.
being
Mm-hmm.
at this stage in my career
Yeah.
instead of my earlier mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what I find now is that when that happens, it has to be life experience and experience that weighs out, that outweighs those stereotypes. I would say yes, I have. I work in a school, and I think early on, there were a lot of young new teachers and stuff, and I think, I found myself being that older teacher and that mom, and I think sometimes people think you don't have as much to bring to the conversation, and so it's been some time establishing myself that way, but in time, I really think I have gotten past that stereotype.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel once?
Frustrated because you feel like you have to try harder than everybody else because they are working out of a stereotype, and I mean, I really kept thinking, why do I have to try so hard to prove myself? Why don't other people have to do the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Do you live more off of what you want to do or what is expected of you?
Oh, I definitely at this point live more off of what I want to do. There are times that I think in order to do what I want to, I do what is expected of me. Uh, but more often than not, I do what I want to.
All right. In your life so far, what has been the more important to you, success or happiness?
Happiness, happiness, happiness. There have been lots of different things that have brought me happiness, and like even in this interview, I mean, this is kind of what I've been doing the last few years. But I would have had some different answers, even if I was talking about like when I was home with you, and the other kids, the stereotypical mom, and then people thinking maybe you aren't aware of what's going on in the world because you're just a mom. or things like that. But yeah,
All right. And in your opinion, does happiness come with success, or does success come with happiness?
I think I think if you do what makes you happy, you will be successful. I really do. I think if you do what makes you happy, success will come.
Yeah. And do you think stereotypes are an important aspect in society?
I think they're important to understand. I think it's very important to be aware of them. I work in a high poverty community where stereotypes are rampant, and in the work I do, we spend every day bucking stereotypes, because you really don't want people to be certainly limited by their stereotypes, because we are so much more than those stereotypes.
Yeah.
What was the question again? Here I'm going off on these different.
Do you think stereotypes are an important aspect of society?
I think it's important to be aware of them. I suppose stereotypes can get us further than we might sometimes. So if somebody thinks you're from a good community and a family with lots of money, they might think you have more skills and talents, attributes than you actually have. So a stereotype can work that way. But more often than not, I think it limits people, and people end up having to. What I will say, I think can be a benefit. It's kind of something good coming from something challenging or difficult, is that it can be okay sometimes to have to prove yourself a little bit more. It pushes all of us, and so it doesn't have to be completely bad. But you really wouldn't want to let someone run too far with a negative stereotype.
Yeah. And where do you think the world would be today without stereotypes?
Where would it be? Well, I guess some of it is kind of in that answer. We probably, in some instances, certainly push harder than we would because of stereotypes. Sometimes, as I said, we feel like we have to prove ourselves. But I think the other side is we've limited people too much. We box people in with those stereotypes, and oftentimes good people don't get a chance.
Yeah.
And it limits it. It's kind of the together we're better, and if we really don't support other people, or we are using something as ambiguous as a stereotype, we're really not. We're not being our best. We're not living genuinely. We're not interacting genuinely.